Hey everybody, today we are digging into the comment section of our videos from our home and cottage here in Ireland, and I brought Liam along.
Right, I'm back again.
So we are going to cover the topics of how we ended up with this cottage, where we're located, and things like our growing zone and all those. Lots of questions have come in.
Yeah.
People are very curious about things. So we'll dive in. This one, we have a group of questions, so this is a cluster that I'll read to you. Diana writes, great video today, as always. I'm really looking forward to learning more about your life in Ireland. Love the cottage. Chris Lee writes, can you give us a little history about how you got a place in Ireland? And Idaho Garden wrote, love this. I need the story, though, of how you came to own an Ireland home. And I'm going to hand this off to Liam because the history starts with you.
It starts with me. I've been coming over since I was young, visiting relations. I have relations just down the road. And I asked the cousin one time, I said, is there any place for sale around here? And he said, yeah, Burke's Cottage just down the road is up for sale. And, you know, when you're in your youth, like everything's, you know, the world is your oyster and everything's a possibility. And so I contacted the auctioneer / real estate agent, and I put a bid on the house. It was owned by the council, and I put a bid on the house, and just a few things happened, and within probably a few months, I ended up at the house. Now, what you see, it was not what was here. I mean, the windows in the back were all broken out. There was water running down the walls. There were crows in the chimney, crows in the kitchen, on the floor dead.
It didn't have central heat, even when the first time I came, which was a couple years later.
It didn't have water. Well, there was water, came off the roof into a cistern. It was pumped up into the kitchen when you needed it. So yeah, it was very, very rustic. So I don't know if we have any pictures, but just at some point you can show a couple of pictures in the future. But yeah, and so then all I saw at that age was possibility. And I always say the same thing. My rose-colored glasses were probably about 2 to 4 inches thick. I mean, all I could see was possibilities and just wonderment.
Then I came on the scene, and we've been gradually, over the last 30 years, been improving it?
Yeah, because we're going back like 36 years since you know, when I first got it. And windows have been replaced twice, extension was built on, bathrooms installed, you know, it snowballed.
It's been a very gradual but expansive project, I guess, when you look at it that way.
It's been a labor of love. I always say that this was my life's project in a big way.
And then there are people who are definitely asking, do you have a video tour of your cottage? It looks so cute. I agree, we need a cottage tour. Do you own or are you renting? So cottage tour, we can probably show you some of the rooms. We won't do a full cottage tour just because we don't have all the rooms tidied up.
Do you mean a video or just like pictures?
We could do a quick video.
Yeah, but there's also...
There's just so much to tell you guys about each room because like everything has a story in every corner. So once we start, it definitely is worthy of another video. I don't know how much... We'll see what we can do.
I think we should do a cottage video. Forget about the gardens. Let's just do a cottage video.
And we do not rent. We do own this place.
Yeah, so. We do own it.
Christine Daly wrote, I'm curious about your car. Do you keep one in Ireland or rent each time you return? Okay, so we... Now, for many years, we do rent.
Yeah, we rent.
And we don't necessarily always rent for the entire time we're here. Sometimes it's just, short term.
Yeah, it depends on what project is happening too. If we need a car for the entire time. But I did own a car here at one time. And the only issue is that if you own a car and you're not driving it, it's not good for the car. So I had it was called a Nissan Sunny. And it was parked, and I'd come back 6 months later, and I'd open the door, and rust would fall down.
Honestly, like you'd sit down in it, and you'd shut the door, and you were like picking rust out of your hair.
It wasn't a brand new car; it was a second-hand car. But to own a car here, cars need to be driven.
Yeah, and the climate here is even more rough because there's so much moisture. So the dashboard would turn green, and you'd have to clean it each time.
There was actually green stuff on the dashboard. And the other thing is insurance. Even though I've been driving here for years, to get insurance, I would be looked at as a new driver. If I got Irish insurance and an Irish driver's license, I'd be seen as a new driver.
With a rental car, it's a little different.
There
are limits on the rentals too. So if you're renting for more than 28 days, it's a different type of rental. So the car thing is always expensive for us and complicated in some ways. So, but we've been doing
it for years. We know the routine and what to do. But
Coco Bean writes, where in Ireland is your cottage? John Ryan writes, what part of Tip? And Eugene O'Malley writes, nice video. Only problem for me was that there was no where. The one clue was Montreal. The only high ground near Montreal is in the Silvermine Mountain Range south of it and the Slieve Bloom Range to the north. My guess is that you guys are somewhere in the Slieve Blooms. I would be most interested to know. Thanks for the lovely video.
He's right on with that, but we're not in the Slieve Blooms. We're in the Silver Mines.
Yeah, so we're in County Tipperary, so that's in the Republic of Ireland. For those of you who don't know, Ireland does have the Republic of Ireland, and then Northern Ireland is part of
the UK,
the United Kingdom. So, and Tipperary is a relatively large county.
It's a large,
yeah, we are at a higher elevation. We're kind of near or connected to the Silver Mines Range, which would be near our main town that we usually go to would be Neenah. But we're still a little ways out from Neenah.
Yeah, I always describe it to people like you start at Neenah and then you just go up the hill like this, and then we're in the dip at the top, and then you go down the other side into Kilcommon and onto Thurles. You know what I mean? So we're kind of like in the top, this dip at the top.
And this doesn't necessarily apply to people asking this question, but in general, both at our homes in Michigan, or our home in Michigan and our home here, we're always going to be a little bit ambiguous about that. And really that comes to security and privacy. And that really comes to when we used to have the travel podcast, we had some interesting situations where, like, we had one woman come in and she wanted to know, where exactly is your cottage? And I gave a general answer. She goes, no, what's your address? And I was like, oh, well, we're not going to be there and whatever. And she said, no, I just want to do a drive-by and see. And it's a little awkward.
Because you don't know who I mean, drive by, tell me where it is, and
Yeah, and so and then when I told her, I said, "Oh, we don't give that information out," and she was she was deeply offended by the fact that we were treating her like a serial killer, which I was kind of like, I didn't even think of serial killer until she mentioned it.
Now we can't get it off our mind. I mean,
and also the privacy of our neighbors. We have a rural road. So it is one of those things that. Carmi Leone writes, are you guys in the same type of gardening zone there as in the U.S.? Only asking because, wow, all those varieties of plants available at that garden center.
Yeah.
So Ireland, for the most part, is in zone 8 and 9. And that might seem like, whoa, that's a crazy high number.
No, we would be a little higher, so our zone might be a little lower, no?
Actually,
we're up in the hills.
So officially, I think we would be considered an 8, but even the temperatures that we had for 3 days after the big snowstorm were cold enough to be a zone 7. So, and that's not that unusual. So I think we're high enough that I would definitely only look at us as a zone 7, but we're not a zone 7 like what you'd see in California or in the southwest or southeast of the U.S. It's much more like along the Pacific Northwest kind of thing. Lots of moisture here, and they don't get the really hot, humid weather, but they do have milder winters. So they get snow and it gets freezing. Yeah,
I went to school in Portland, Oregon, and the climate very much reminds me of the Pacific Northwest. I'm just reading it. Go ahead, read it. No, I just noticed it.
Donna Kanitsky. I'm not sure. I should know. I mean,
you're Polish.
I know. I should know these things, but. There's always those little nuances.
If it was Omar, I'd be able to tell you, but it's Kaczynski or whatever.
Anyway, Donna writes, love your place, very charming. I was very surprised at all the flies. I wonder how that happened.
Well, it gets cold outside, and flies get into the window grooves, especially we have Velux windows, which are roof windows, and any little bit of heat they find. And then you arrive, and you open the window, and... tons of them fall down.
And even not by the Velux windows, there's flies, and they get in. But in general, like in the summer, you don't see tons of flies flying around.
No, you might. In the summer, you might get a couple of. In fact, I find it really unusual. We always used to laugh because my cousin had a dairy farm, and the dairy barn and the cottage were not very far from each other, and he would be milking the cows, and there would be flies like everywhere. And just a short distance away is the cottage, and the door's wide open, and like no flies inside. We can never figure that out because there's no screen. Very few people have screens here. They just don't have screens. And
well, you've heard the term flies on. So I think they like being around those cows.
Go ahead, say that dirty word. Flies on.
And hey, I grew up on a dairy farm, and we definitely had more flies in the barn than we did in the house. We still got everywhere though. Ranger Goal and Terry D both gave compliments to the fireplace that we have.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's kind of Liam's passion project was having like an incredible.
Well, that was my passion. Now I'm on new passion projects, but that was my passion project for a long time.
Always a new passion project.
I'll be building a deck soon.
We'll show you all about that when that time comes, but that is not a project for this week.
No, not this week. Did I mention the gazebo on top of the hill? That's coming too. But anyway,
now there were some questions that came in from when we had the big snowstorm. So Peggy Ann wrote, wow, I had no idea Ireland received that much snow.
We didn't either.
Yeah, looks like my backyard. But here's what I think is interesting. And actually, it is very unusual to have that much snow here.
I've never seen that much snow
And
here.
other parts of Ireland didn't get nearly as much as what we had.
No, but we're up in the hills, so.
Yeah, so the conditions were just right for us to really get dumped
But the
on.
interesting thing about it was we had that huge storm. And I mean, it was like, I felt I was back in Michigan. But then, like 4 days later, it was all gone. And the daffodils are coming up. I mean, it just... Yeah, I could handle that back in Michigan if we had snow for 4 days, then it went away.
Yeah, the Michigan weather, that the winter never ends, is a little tough. But I thought this was the interesting part. In that video, we talked about the hoarfrost, which was the crystals that appeared kind of on all the trees and everything before the big snowstorm.
Right.
And Peggy Ann wrote, the term hoar comes from an Old English term meaning white or gray, which was interesting because your cousin kept calling it
Gray frost.
gray frost. And we hadn't heard that term, and it's clearly just a direct translation from the term hoarfrost. So
I know hoarfrost because in art school, when you have to study paintings and stuff in art history, I think there's got to be a couple paintings that were called, the hoarfrost or something that would show that. That's why I would know that.
Well, Peggy went on to say, I'm a fan of English history, and examples of it used in historical fiction would be the man had a hoary beard, or the boar's back was hoary. So I think that's fascinating, and I'm glad we kind of know the history of it.
I am too. There's.
It's not only an old word, it's an Old English word, so it goes way back.
It's an Old English word. And
Alice Rabbit wrote, I didn't know Ireland received that much snow. Sounds like an adventure. It certainly was. Neg Boonmac wrote, I love this video on your stay to Ireland during the snowstorm. We don't normally have snow like this, but great to hear your side of the story. Brilliant. So obviously they're in Ireland, and they're kind of confirming, this is very unusual.
I'm glad because it was unusual.
Angie wrote, a new subscriber, we have no understanding of snow here in Ireland. So we have some people from Ireland watching.
Oh, that's cool.
Welcome to the channel, watching us. And Karen Thornhill wrote, so glad you have wood heat here on the south shore of Nova Scotia. We just had a dusting of snow. And so we are glad we had those stoves too, because there's a lot of people who had heating systems that rely on electricity, and when the power went out, that was a problem.
That was a bit of a problem. And wonderful from Nova Scotia. We have a friend that's married to an Irish farmer from Nova Scotia, and we had lunch with her the other day. So that's wonderful. We love Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia has a huge Irish Canadian population.
Yeah.
A lot of people from here ended up in
Waterford. A lot of people from Waterford immigrated, and we're talking years ago.
Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have here? Kelly Ponto writes, enjoyed the laugh of you knocking the snow off the plants, but I thought that snow acts as insulation. Very good point. And what we're basically saying is, if you get a covering of snow on the ground, that's going to insulate those roots, and it's going to protect the roots. And that's the part that needs to be protected in the winter. Everything above for the winter, we're just protecting it from weight of the snow.
And there was a lot of damage to trees and shrubs and stuff because the snow, that was just so heavy. And so if we had knocked that off our trees back there, we would have had breakage too for sure.
Yeah, there would have been some broken branches. So a lot of times just regular snow wouldn't be an issue at all. That usually just but there's so much accumulation. And
it was so fast and so heavy.
Yeah, it was very heavy snow. Maureen McCracken writes, your neighbors could use a Kelly kettle. We have one in our emergency kit, but they could come in handy when camping too. So that's...
and what's a Kelly kettle? I think I know what a Kelly kettle is.
Yeah, I think I looked it up. It's got a little can and...
and you just put a few sticks under there and it heats
I can't remember
water,
now.
doesn't it? I think I have to look that up. I almost bought one of those. If it's the same thing, I almost bought one years ago because I thought it was great for if you're hiking or something. You can just heat water with a few sticks.
And then Michelle Hurst wrote, such an interesting video. I didn't know there was Aldi in Ireland. And Aldi actually is a German company, as well as Lidl, which Lidl is starting to...
Or is Lidl is Germany, Aldi is English, isn't it?
I
don't know. Maybe they're both German. I don't know. They could be both German.
They're both European, and they were definitely here before, and they're making their way across the pond. Riley Raitt wrote, what an amazing experience. My son and his family lived in Ireland for 3 years, and now I understand why my granddaughter wanted mac and cheese almost every day when they came home to visit.
Kraft macaroni and cheese.
I think anybody, when you leave kind of where you're from, there's always certain foods that you're going to miss, whether they're homemade foods or they're those hyper-processed foods. You miss those things from your childhood. You just can't help it.
I'm telling you, Kraft dinner, which is Kraft macaroni and cheese, and Fruit Loops. I I never buy Fruit Loops when I'm in America, but if I'm in a hotel and there's a little box of Fruit Loops, I'm going to eat it because that brings me right back to my 9-year-old self.
Kristen Stevens wrote, I literally laughed out loud when Liam brought out the bottle of Jameson. They love your sense of humor.
That's just being me.
You and your whiskey. Selena wrote, I am absolutely enjoying this new direction. I especially like Liam's sense of humor, his jokes about whiskey, and his pulling the bottle up from behind the cushion. Oh my goodness. I laughed out loud, and his garden with the names had me absolutely roaring laughing. Please take us along with you as much as you can. The interaction between you makes me smile. So I guess some people like you.
I told him he had to bring me on to make this a success.
It is fun having Liam here, partly because you don't always know all the same things that I know about gardening. So you have questions that I think people out there might have that I completely don't realize, oh, I didn't think of it.
Shrub, bush, hydrangea, grass. You complicate it with all these other panicle, whatever the hell it's called.
This coming from the guy who will be like, oh, I really like that one plant with the pink stripe and the yellow whatever. What is that? And then when I tell him, then he's like, oh, it's a shrub. I'm like, it's a very specific shrub.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
Tina Cruz wrote, love this. I want the whiskey tour. And hey, there's some really good.
And I would love to take you on a whiskey tour because I have been to every distillery.
Not every distillery.
There's new ones coming up. That's true.
But I've been to all the classic or historic ones.
Yes.
That are open to the public.
And I've been through the taste tests, and I always do. I'd go to enough of them that I would know exactly when the presenter was about to say, now we'd like to look for some volunteers because they couldn't, if you have a tour group of 25 people, only 5 of those are going to get to actually do the whiskey tasting. And I knew exactly when the time was where I'd throw my hand up. And
so the whiskey tasting is when they let you sample a whole bunch of them. Yeah. The whiskey sample is where you just get to taste 1 or 2.
Right.
So Liam knows how to get to the.
He's a sampler. Professional.
He's the sampler extraordinaire.
How much of this is he going to cut out? That's what I want to know.
Martine McCarthy wrote, love watching the two of you together. Liam is hilarious. Don't feed his ego. I can hear a bit of an Irish accent coming out of him.
Just a small bit.
That's his Yooper accent. That's from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
It's a little bit of Canadian, Irish, and Yooper. It's a little bit of a blend.
Yeah, and it is true when you're here. I think our dialect changes.
And you start speaking. You start speaking the vernacular.
Yeah,
too.
I was going to say the vernacular is really what changes. Where we start using maybe some words that we wouldn't normally use.
Yeah.
Hence, in some of my videos, I put the definition of some of the words, we start saying Hoover because they don't usually say vacuum.
They say Hoover, yeah.
And there's a lot of other times we do start pronouncing things like garage and battery.
Garage, tomato.
Just because everybody here says battery. That, and I don't know. Sometimes you just kind of want to.
Well, I don't even think about it when I'm over here. I just say those things. You know what I mean? It's just easier. And then sometimes we'll correct each other because we'll say something it would be a North American word, and it's
We know there might be some confusion, so we don't want to get lost in translation. We speak the same language, but you almost have to be bilingual sometimes.
Yeah, you kind of you never say, oh, hey, listen, can I give you a ride? You just don't say that. Where in America, I'd say, hey, do you want to ride home? Yeah, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But you would never say that.
I think it's your pub friends that take the word ride to mean something else. KAC writes, it's a great place to be snowed in. It does kind of force you to slow down, and that's not a bad thing. You guys are hilarious. Corey, that face you made when Liam was talking about showing his garden, it was a mix of dread and curiosity. I think you probably have seen that expression on my face a couple times, haven't you?
He's tried to keep me under a bushel basket, and I will not be under a bushel basket, to use a garden term.
Wow.
I need to shine.
Now, she also did write, Liam is right, hyacinth plants are a necessity. And you bought more hyacinths.
Yeah, I'm really becoming. I think I'm going to start my own channel just on bulbs.
And you guys would watch, actually.
I would, and I'll just say that's a pink, pretty bulb, and that's a yellow, pretty bulb. And
don't go for details. Go for just the beauty.
You confuse things with details. I always find when I watch your videos when he's just doing them alone that he's confusing. But if you want,
some people would disagree, but you know what? You believe what you need to. Okay, so Bonnie McCormick wrote, Liam, I get it. First, I was annuals. Then I was all about perennials, and I was content. Then I discovered bulbs, and I'm like, what a magical thing these garden nuggets can do. Stay safe, guys, and get back online to us soon. That was when we were out of power. She's right. I mean, especially annuals.
She is right, and I'd like to just, as a bulb professional.
Thanks, Bonnie.
But Bonnie,
we have to be careful. This one is just terrible.
No, Bonnie, I like Bonnie a lot. Bonnie, write again, please.
Bonnie has left a lot of nice comments.
She has left a lot of nice comments.
Kim Moore wrote us, and this was on when we were talking about being stranded for 7 days, and that's when we could not leave the house.
Yeah.
The car could not handle the road.
7 days.
You already played that joke.
I know, but thank God it was long. The house is big, and I went to one side.
Kim Moore wrote, you guys are a gas. First thought was having no power, having no internet. Nothing about food or heat at all. She was right. We totally skipped over that part of it.
About food?
Yeah, we were.
Did you really think we needed much food? Take a look at us. We could have gone, well, the old joke, we were about 3 weeks from starving, so we were fine. But I have a stash of cookies/biscuits.
D to her wrote, don't forget also, snow tires aren't available in most places in Ireland as it snows so infrequently. And that's true. Yeah. We definitely saw that in the car. Yeah. They had no traction at all. Whereas in North America, especially in the north, we would have all-weather tires. Yeah. And so those are better in snow. So Barbara McCann wrote, I don't know about shipping to Ireland or the baggage cost when you fly, but a Garrett snow sleigh would be a shovel to last your whole life in Ireland. I use mine in Northwest Michigan, and at 70 years old, I can take care of the snow without ever lifting or experiencing back strain. I don't think it'd be worth it because we may never see snow like this in Ireland again.
No, I'm suspecting she might have stock in the Garrett snow sleigh company because, we wouldn't need to. You can't even buy a snow shovel here because it was just really unusual. That was really unusual, to be honest with you. I don't know if we'll ever see that again.
Yeah. And Jenny Waite wrote, thank you both for the entertaining video. The snow looks amazing, especially from 37 degrees Celsius in humid Queensland, Australia. That's 98 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, I know that'd be I have cousins in Narrabri, outside of...
In New South Wales.
New South Wales, yeah. Oh. Yeah.
I can't even imagine heat right now with that.
I'd like to imagine it, though.
This is from the video that we had gone visit our friends in County Limerick. They're doing up a thatched farmhouse. Yeah. Ellen Jenner wrote, thank you for taking the trouble of letting us see this amazing cottage in progress. It is a bit of bright air that we all needed. Mm. And this project is a bit of bright air, I think, in general. It's very positive.
Yeah, and I know what my dream was with this place, and so to help these friends of ours, to create their dream has been a thrill I love going down there and helping them and working out and just seeing the progress happen all the time.
Now your friend Bonnie wrote in again, hello new friends. Corey, you can't pass over the big old pup and not tell us his or her name. That was Marley. So that
Marley,
would be their dog. We don't have a dog, that was theirs. I'm so excited to see the progress with this place. Liam, in-floor heating should be a requirement if you have to face winter anywhere. Yeah. My place is over 120-year-old, and the kitchen and the living room sit right on the ground. And wallpaper. Oh boy, fun times. Looking forward to more gardens. I am learning about how to make faux rocks for mine. I'm super jealous. The yard is just full waiting to be bougie. So she's looking at kind of getting all bourgeois. Bougie. We're using
I like that word.
You haven't heard that? That's a big internet TikTok word.
Bougie?
Oh yeah, if you're dressing stuff up, kind of. There's a bunch of we're too old to really be able to appropriately use them.
Don't get pongigerous. That's my new word.
That's not a real word.
Isn't it a great word?
Pongigerous.
If somebody's acting up, don't get pongigerous.
KAC wrote, wow, I can see why they fell in love with that place. There was beauty even in the midst of the decay. And that one picture out the window with the wildflowers, oh my goodness. Yeah, those are the poppies that she had right outside the window.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, and I noticed the poppies are starting to sprout for her right now.
Yeah.
So she's going to have more poppies again this year. Yeah. So that was gorgeous. Tina Cruz wrote, that pink door is everything.
Yeah, it's amazing. I would not have ever gone in that direction, and it works so perfect in their place.
It's nice when people make a decision that is totally a left turn from what we would do, and it turns out.
And I think that people need to do that more. Sometimes you need to just dive in. I remember when we were doing the ceiling and the extension, a friend came up, and I was just laboring, just this terrible feeling, how am I going to do this? Should I go dark? Should I go light or whatever? And this friend, she just said, pick it and just go with it. And if all else fails, you can paint it. And I said, you're right.
And in the end, it was...
Oh, in the end, it's perfect. I love it.
And we made the riskiest decision. We painted it really dark.
Dark, yeah. Because I thought I was going to bring the ceiling down low and it'd be really cramped. It's not. It's perfect.
At least for our taste, it is. Yeah. So it's great. And then...
We have taste?
sometimes. Ranger Gold wrote, Liam, have you tried Tullamore Dew? The distillery tour is fabulous. It's in County Offaly, and a 2-hour train ride from Dublin.
Oh my God, I've done that tour so many times, I can't tell you.
You know, if you're ever in that area, I would recommend.
Yeah, there's actually 2 distilleries very close. There's Kilbeggan Distillery, and then the Tullamore, and the distance is very short. So if you're going to Tullamore, which is it's kind of a bigger tour, a little more slick, let's just say. And Kilbeggan is in the old Lock Distillery, and it's a very small setup, but it's a great tour. Both of those are great tours. I'd recommend it.
Okay, I think we might be getting a little bit long here, so I'm going to maybe cut this into half right now because we're only.
But if they're enjoying themselves,
I know that we have more to come. So hang in there. Next video, I'll see if we can post it right after this or at the same time. I'm not sure. We'll figure that out. But there are more questions that we need to answer.
I only have so much more time. You know, I'm busy. I'm very busy.
Very busy.
Bye.